My name's Laiza Negrete. I'm the Vice President of Political Affairs, and I want to thank the WomanUP crew for inviting me to be your host today as we dive into Legislative Day and why advocacy and the participation of women in advocacy is so important. My job at C.A.R. is to work with the Fundraising and Member Mobilization Committee, which raises money for our advocacy efforts, as well as engage members through our red alerts and calls to action whenever there are pertinent legislative issues that impact your industry. And I also get to work with CREPAC, the California Real Estate Political Action Committee, which gets to spend those resources and proactively engage in political campaigns, also to represent the values of the Realtor Party of California. And I have with me some amazing guests, and I'm going to pass it over to Kili Rahbeck first to introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. For those that don't know me, my name is Kili Rahbeck. I live in South Lake Tahoe. I am broker, owner of my own company called C.A.R. Realty. And this year, I am in a leadership role with C.A.R. as the vice chair for the local government committee. I'm a past planning commissioner for the city of South Lake Tahoe, past president for South Tahoe Association of Realtors. So very involved, to put it lightly. I was actually in the middle of listening to our city council meeting that was last night before joining this. So yeah, that's who I am.
Thank you. And also we have with us Janet. Can you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Good morning. My name is Janet Keogh, council member for the city of La Palma in Orange County. And so I'm up here in Sacramento for Advocacy Week, which is interesting, right? I'm advocating whether it's for real estate or our local city. So I'm also a federal political coordinator appointed to Congress member Derek Tran, because when he was running, I endorsed him. And so it's a privilege to be a close friend of his. So on the C.A.R. NAR side, I will be in DC to I'll be on the Hill. The great thing is I was at his town hall discussion. And so we do talk about tariffs, and we do talk about, a lot of things that impact us. And I know that what's really important for us is housing, affordable living. In addition to that, I'm here. I belong to the League of California Cities, the Women Caucus Group, as a voting member and a treasurer as well. So I went to WomanUP last year, and I think it's a great event. I'm a broker myself. And so I just believe in uplifting our community, especially the women's advocacy group. So it's a pleasure to be here with you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Janet. And one of the reasons why I get very excited to work with realtors throughout California is because even though you don't really think about it from this perspective, you all are the eyes and ears of your communities. And that by itself lends to a natural transition for you all to be engaged in what's going on in your community. And knowing how involved our panelists are today, I want to start by asking Kili, when did you realize that real estate advocacy is important? What was sort of that aha moment that you had to know, you know what, paying attention to city council meetings is important?
My first legislative day, actually. I became a realtor August 2017, and my first leg day was May 2018. And I was told by my association, it's a super fun event. Come down, we're going to go to dinners. We're going to meet all these people. There's YPN mixers. Like, I thought, ooh, fun. I get to get out of town and do some work. Well, I couldn't believe what realtors did besides buy and sell homes. I had no idea. I was completely just shocked, I think. And from that day on, I realized like there's so much behind closed doors. And they're the reason why private property rights are so important. I also that year was part of a leadership Lake Tahoe thing with our chamber. And we went through all the different agencies through our community and learned about them month after month. And it was a whole year-long program, and one of them was government. So we got to meet with our city council members and with the city manager and all these different aspects. And we got to hear in a meeting and without all of the bureaucracy of just like what goes on and why they were involved. And it just made me realize that without the little people, without our local, without being involved, there's nothing. And we can't stand for that.
Thank you. And Janet, when did you realize that advocacy in real estate is important?
Actually, about 3 years ago, before I ran, my children, I'm 54 now, so when my children are adult children, so they're 22, 24. I figured back then I worked for Remax, and I was a training sales manager, and I joined the commission. I'm like, oh, my community in La Palma, they have like a commission where they go over all over and go, oh, your house is so pretty. We're gonna give you an award. We're about fun and trying to attract, the buyers, to our community. And our community is really small, and the average homes are like $1 million. So with the resident of 15,000 members or residents, so it's not that big. So then when I joined, I'm like, this makes sense. I really like being a part of a bigger whole, and I know that as a realtor, myself and our community, we always want to give back, right? Whether is right now I'm sitting on the homeless shelter community, and as well as a water board. So I think like as much as we want to bring and elevate, the home value, we want to make sure that we are connected to our community by giving back.
Thank you. And you mentioned earlier, Janet, that you are a federal political coordinator for a Congress member. And I want to talk a little bit about that, because the strength of our organization is all of the members that engage. Federal political coordinators work with Congress members.
Yeah.
State political coordinators work with state legislators. And because we have so many members in every corner of the state, there are very strong relationships that naturally happen in the communities with people who end up getting elected. And so you all, by the connections that you make in the community, help us also be very strong. So we really appreciate everything you do in your community. And, Legislative Day is about bringing that voice to Sacramento so that legislators across the street get to hear from practitioners about how the things they're doing in the Capitol impact their industry. C.A.R. has a very strong team of lobbyists that day to day get in front of the legislators. And, Sacramento is full of lobbyists who are, knocking at the doors of legislators and asking for this vote or that vote. But when the practitioners show up, the tone changes, right? They know that you are their constituent. They have to be responsive to you, and they care about getting reelected. So making sure that realtors are in front of their legislators to explain how something is impacting the industry is very crucial to make sure we have an impact with legislators. So I want to kind of talk a little bit more about Kili. It sounds like you incorporate advocacy in everything you do. Can you tell me a little bit about how it's become part of your life and how you incorporate it into your business?
Yeah, of course. So, my husband always laughs because I get so passionate about politics. And, we could be in the middle of a big fight, but if politics come up, I'll sit there and I'm like all jazzed and we'll talk about it for forever. And he's like, oh, so this is what it's just one of those things that it's not just something that happens, it's where I live, it's what I do. And so I think that that's been something I've grown up with. My dad was on union boards with CAL FIRE, and as a helicopter pilot, you know, he could just show up to work, go home. But he taught me from a really young age, like, no, this affects you. This, you know, this affects all of us. We need to be part of the conversation instead of sitting back. So when it comes to my job and my company, I've made it a really big deal that you have to be involved in your community and you need to voice those concerns or those joys that you have, because without that, there's not really much you can do. And I think that my clients love that I am a wealth of knowledge when it comes to ordinances, measures, things of that. And I bring it all because I really, really believe that education is power and education is key to everything. And so if you continue to educate yourself on your community issues, and speaking up, that you will succeed in everything that you do.
Thank you. Janet, I'm going to ask you a different question. You are an elected official. Can you tell us why you think women's voices are so important, especially when we are advocating for the real estate industry, and why it's important for women to take up leadership roles?
Women as a whole, forget being a minority, right? Myself, I'm Asian, that's very obvious. Being a woman of color, I'm being tiny, I'm like very petite. We don't have a voice. And most of the time, we have to bring a seat to the table or create a table for ourselves. And our voices are not very heard. And if it is, we're outspoken by men. And this is a man society that's been mostly for men. And we can see through all the people who have been running for higher office. So for myself, I feel like if we don't advocate collectively for our voices, then we're not going to have important issues that are going to promote women. You know, our issues are really unique in a sense where we are a mother, we have to tend to our children. We sometimes have to take a break. Like for myself, you know, my children are now adults, right? But we do have to be mindful of like women who have to work and have young children. So there should be policies in place that are very mindful of the healthcare, okay, and also mindful of like, you know, is there daycare that helps women in real estate? You know, it's kind of flexible, okay, because that's why I'm in real estate. But I think like for myself, if I just went through a recent separation or divorce. And so I was forever on my husband's health benefit, right? So now, how are we going to support ourselves with the health care? You know, I think it's just thinking out of the box in terms of safety. You know, when we go out there, I'm about public safety. So how are we going to protect ourselves? Because we're not. And then there are part of other women who are stronger than myself and say, so public safety is another thing that I think I like to promote, besides having a seat at the table, being visibly there, fighting for our issue. And the biggest reason why I became a council member is when they took away women's rights, right? In terms of our reproductive rights. And that's critical because my daughter's 22. I'm 54. That's, you know, choices should be made, should be allowed for us to make those kind of, you know, choices.
Thank you. I know that over time, I've been with C.A.R. 17, almost 18 years now. I've had the opportunity to speak with very long-time engaged members. And I remember a conversation with who's out of the Bay Area, and who told me that when she entered the industry in the 70s and 80s, you know, she was very successful, made a lot of money, and she felt that it was an industry where in a way there wasn't a glass ceiling because, you know, you got out of it what you put in. And I remember her telling me that because she had, you know, developed this ability to buy a lot of things, that there were moments in time where she had to ask for her husband's permission. Like they wouldn't sell her certain items in the 80s because they needed to make sure that her husband was okay with it. And that just baffled my mind. But we are we are in very historic times right now. Coming out of the 2024 election, 49% of the California legislature is made up by women. And additionally, NAR data indicates that 65% of all realtors are female, and that's up from 62% in the previous year. And so I'm wondering, Kili, can you share what challenges you think women continue to experience in the real estate industry?
I mean, to echo Janet, when you are a mother and you have a personal life outside of your work life, I think a lot of people see that as negativity, as a weakness, and it's completely opposite. Again, I joke with my husband, I have a 16-month-old daughter, so I am very new to the motherhood. And I always laugh because I try to do everything. Like I've always done. I've done the house, I've done the cleaning, I've done my own business. I started my business. And then you add a little human that relies on you, and now you're doing all of that. And people can see that as a weakness because your work now is on the back burner, or you're not going to. I had somebody unfortunately tell me that my work was going to suffer because of having a child. And I had another colleague sitting next to me at the time, and we were talking about it later, and they were like, "Why would your work suffer?" And I was like, "Well, I wouldn't call it suffering. I would say that I will be now making different choices. I will not be taking phone calls after I pick up my daughter from daycare. I will not be at 7 a.m. at my computer doing a contract when it can wait till 9. So for me, I don't think that it was suffrage. I think it was just choosing what's right for you. And that whole thing is something that women will continue. I think that I don't know how we can get past that, besides just showing them it can work and showing people that it's a positive and not a negative. I started my real estate career when I joined a woman-owned and led real estate brokerage. And then I relied on another woman who started her own brokerage to help me start mine. And now I am proud to be a woman-owned brokerage. And that has, I think, completely shaped everything, my flexibility of work, how I operate today. And those are struggles that I'll continue to have, and we will all continue to have. But I think being there for each other will help bridge that gap.
Thank you. Janet, same question to you. What challenges do you think women continue to face in the real estate industry?
I think like I just type in a chat box is work-life balance, right? So again, we as mothers, we have to take care of our kids and also school and expected to cook, clean, and then we slow down at a certain point because you can't do it all, right? And the man out there, your husband, uh, he brings in the bacon, he works, but he's not expected to take care of the kids. We are expected to be Wonder Woman and do it all. So when you have children, you slow down, your income kind of slow down, but you still have to be a mother. You still have to be a nurturing person. But also, is the respect aspect. I will just tell you, sometimes people don't give you as much respect as a man. For instance, my ex-husband doesn't have a real estate license, and I'm a broker, and he's Caucasian, white, in the 50s, and they look at him and they're like, we're talking about real estate, and they turn to my ex-husband and ask him what's his opinion. I'm like, what do you mean? Why would you ask a person who doesn't have a real estate license? I've been licensed since 2001 and I'm a broker, but why would you turn to my husband and ask him, like, serious question, like questions about real estate. And that's my point, is like they look at a white man and then they look at an Asian woman, or I'm just petite. I'm like, you guys realize, and this is to acquaintances, like, do you guys realize I got the license, right? I'm a broker. I've been doing this since 2001. And so I think there's still some prejudiceness out there. Maybe I'm just the one who's experiencing that, but they kind of look like they give a little more credence to the man over the female. That's just my own experience, though, maybe.
Thank you. And, thank you for sharing the experiences. It reminds me too that, even though women have come a long way, there's still a lot of progress to be made and a lot of changes to happen, particularly where it comes to women being in, the public sphere. And it really brought to mind the experience that current Assemblywoman Buffy Wicks had when she became an assembly member. She actually was featured in a newspaper article, so you can probably look up the article. But in order to press the button to vote in the legislature, you have to physically be in the floor where the session's happening. You can listen to session, anyone can listen to session through the internet. And she, at the time, had an infant who she was breastfeeding, and she was in her office breastfeeding her infant. A crucial vote came out, and she had to run to the floor to make sure she pressed the button.
Wow.
And I guess I want to share that to say that, yes, we have a long way to go, but I also think that, it's important to know that that's the kind of stuff that women deal with, and that people should get used to that, because women do belong in places of power. And as we continue to talk about power and the power of Legislative Day, I know that Kili talked about her first Legislative Day experience. Janet, can you tell me about your Legislative Day experience?
Okay, so it's interesting because I represent the local city. So right now we go to we're here in Sacramento, so we're either going to go to the swing area, right? Not the capital. So there's the office. So we would actually, this is about housing and homelessness, right? We're supposed to support, because we belong to part of the advocacy group of League of California City. And for myself, it's like, okay, what are we proposing? What are we supporting? And we go in as a group of cities, and we talk to the assembly member. So my assembly member is Sharon Quirk Silva, and then our newest senator is Tony Strickland. So we're trying to say, hey, we want to propose and support a $10 billion housing bond to finance affordable rental housing and home ownership program. That's an alignment with my value. That I'm a realtor. I'm like, yes, I'm for that, right? Like, yay. So for me, it's like, okay, now I'm an FPC. So I have to kind of figure out which hat I'm putting on, and saying, what is my real estate group advocating for? That's an alignment with my city, right? Because it's not a cookie cut. It's like one size does not fit all, meaning like we don't have any space. And so the state is trying to say you have a housing element that you have to build all these homes. Well, our city is really small and it's all single family homes, right? Huntington Beach is the same thing. They're coastal. So now we have to be very mindful of like, it's not one size fit all, is very customizable to the particular cities. And so the ordinance is very important, right? And so we were like, okay, so my hat is going, what are we advocating for against the state as a city elected official? And then as an NAR FPC, what are we advocating for? Less tax? Because local city wants more tax for revenue so that we can make more money. So my world is kind of interesting in terms like, am I coming as an advocate for NAR, CAR, or am I coming as an elected official? Do we want more money and tax? So it's just like, okay, very interesting being in there. And sometimes I just have to be quiet and go, what role am I wearing? What role am I, what hat? But if it's like consistent with our value, then I'm like, cool, I'll speak up.
Thank you. And Kili, what are you looking forward to when you come up for Legislative Day?
Well, so one of the things on my first legislative day that I noticed was everyone knew everybody. I felt so overwhelmed because I was like, oh, I'm supposed to know all these people, but I had no clue who any of these people are. I had so many questions. I had all these different things. Now, when I go to legislative day, I am so energized because I get to see all of my colleagues when their passion for what I have passion for. So that's one of the things that I'm really looking forward to is all the education that I gain, being able to take that home with me, take that back to my clients, to my family, and to my community. Most of what I do is local. So I feel like I live in this little bit of a bubble as far as, you know, everything that happens here. And, you know, I'm in Lake Tahoe, so it's one of those everybody comes to us for all this fun and adventure. And so I'm in this little bubble and I don't really realize what's going on at the state level or at the federal level at all times. There's just too much information. So this is my time to be able to really digest all of that, get out of my bubble, learn about what's happening at the state level, what's going to be impacting local jurisdictions. And I think that as vice chair of local government this year, it's opened my eyes up a lot more to all of these different local cities and counties that have all of their problems. And a lot of it is so similar to each other. You know, you have one county over here that's having an issue and 4 counties over, they're having the same issue, but they don't talk. So they don't know that they're dealing with it together. So I think legislative day is one of those days we kind of all come together and we all start to learn about this. I'm really looking forward to just being together with everybody, getting outside my bubble and bringing it home.
Thank you. I love that you said getting outside of the bubble, because one of the things that I like to emphasize with our members is that you are part of an industry and an organization that plays a very powerful role in the state as a whole. The California Association of Realtors is the strongest business organization in the state, bigger than the chamber. And we take on big fights. And when you show up, legislators listen. And so it is important to get out of that bubble. And it always baffles me how, in a good way, how much our members, set aside what they have to do day to day to come here and get engaged in Sacramento. And I think once you get involved and you attend legislative day, you are able to realize what you are part of when you engage, and that you can make a difference, not only in Sacramento, but in your local communities. And so I just want to remind you that you're part of something bigger and you can make a difference. And as we prepare for legislative day, one of the things that happens is we have a morning session where we prepare you all to go visit your respective legislators, and there will be a handout given to you that is titled Hot Issues. I wish I could tell you what those hot issues are, but I can't, because usually those hot issues are developing as we lead up to legislative day. Things are being negotiated. And in fact, legislators have negotiated with us and sided with us when they know you're coming to town. So know that you will receive a briefing of all the issues that are pertinent at the time so that you are prepared when you speak to your state legislators. And I want to move on and talk a little bit about the role of women in advocacy. One of the things I've learned in just being involved in politics is that women are often hesitant to get involved in leadership roles or in politics because politics seems to be a dirty word that scares them, or they say, no one has ever asked me to join. And I want to sort of transform that thought process and say that being a realtor is very political. Politics is another word for people relations, and all of the skill sets you learn to run your business and be successful are the exact same skills that are needed to run for office. So you can be an ally to those running for office if you yourself don't want to run for office, because believe it or not, they need to know about signing ordinances in order to promote their campaign. And so you can be an asset to those folks that do want to step up, or you may want to think of stepping up yourself. And so can you both talk about, or let's go to Kili first. Can you share some of the challenges you faced as you've stepped into leadership and an advocacy role?
I think it kind of stems back to the work-life balance again, because it does take a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. It's not for the weak of heart. You will get called names. You're not always going to agree with everybody in the room, and that's totally okay. And I think that that's something that we face as people in general. Some people are people pleasers and they want everybody to like them. And if that's the case, politics are tough. They are really hard to do. And when you are at your wit's end with life and work and all this stuff, and then you get called a name, it can just put you over the edge, you know? So that can be a huge challenge that I've had to face, was how to deal with that. I mentioned prior to us having everybody join the call, I just went on a bike ride. And that's one of the biggest things that I have to work out. Otherwise, I'm a menace, to put it lightly. You know, I need to take care of myself to be able to take care of my family and my life, and be there for my community. And so these challenges that women face when they're stepping into these roles, I think a lot of it can be mental and can be hard to deal with, and being able to learn how to get past all of that is crucial. It's one of the biggest challenges I've had to face.
Thank you. Janet, what are some of the challenges you faced as you stepped up into leadership roles?
Well, I tell you, politics, people hate politicians until they need you. Number one. That's number one. When they don't like you, they label you a politician. I'm gonna let you know. And you're an elected official, you're 24/7 an elected official. You cannot say things without being worried to be canceled. My children were like, Mom, don't say that, you can be canceled. I'm like, okay, you know, and I can't have alcohol in my hands because I have my P's and Q's and all my, you know, it has to be scrubbed. So that's for one. You're always under the spotlight, which is right now I'm under the spotlight quite literally, right? So that's the reality. And number work-life balance. I highly recommend people start small, maybe join the school board, be a commissioner of a city, what have you, and test it out. Because being in city council and you're in your capacity, you're joining committees and you're all over, it might impact your marriage. I will tell you, and maybe that impacted be like my divorce, okay? Because when I went through a recent boot camp to run for higher office, they said that might impact your marriage, and it did. It impacted my relationship, and maybe the relationship's already wonky, and the man's about to step out, and now he has more time to play at the field. I don't know. So I'm just telling you, if you have a strong marriage, it might weaken it. If you don't have work-life balance where your children are still young, then you have to also focus on your family and the kids and what have you, right? And your work. So those are the elements that I'm like saying, big caution, right? And then the campaign person, like, I'm running for this to make a better life. But as realtors, we are nonpartisan, okay? We're not a Democrat, we're not Republican, but you know, you make a lot of promises, and when you're on the dais, your peers might go, I don't like her because the way what she stands for. So you as a campaigner might come across, I want public safety, I want to reduce crime, whatever. And then when you're on the dais, they look at you like, we're not going to vote for your issue, and you become ineffective, you know? So alignment is really important in terms of on your dais. It's like, I'm a Democrat. The other person, four people are Republican. I'll never get my my issues across, right? Unless I find common grounds. So those are the things that I'm like, please run. Don't let me scare you. But if you have a, you know, the passion to advocate for your community and, you know, for your friends or whatever that you have, please do run, because I think we need more women to step up and younger leadership. And I want to advocate. So don't be scared. I'm just trying to give you guys the rough and tumble, but I love what I do, because be authentic, right? If you love people and you want to help the community, it's great. That's the upside.
Thank you, Janet. And it's true, you know, when we just think of politicians, it really irks people one way or another, because they think of things that they're unhappy about. And a lot of times people end up getting involved in advocacy because they're very angry about something. So it's usually driven by very strong passion. But you remind me, Janet, that it's very important to remember that elected officials are human beings, and that fact that they're stepping up in leadership roles to make those hard decisions is very respectable. And for anyone that is willing to do it or thinking about it, you know, there's different roles to play. And so we always are here to encourage you. And as I've talked to realtors throughout my time here, I've asked them too about, you know, why they get involved and all, you know, instead of focusing on selling homes, I just wanted to know sort of what kind of keeps them coming to legislative day and remain engaged. And, you know, one of the things that they said is, well, you develop this network, this statewide network of realtors that can help not only yourself personally, because then you're looking forward to seeing all your friends, but also professionally. So Kili, can you tell me a little bit about how being engaged has helped you both personally and also maybe your business?
Oh, most definitely. That's where I met people to help me start my business. You know, when I mentioned the woman that also started her own brokerage who helped me start mine, that was from C.A.R. I have this huge network of people that I can now help my clients with. They are who I contact where I'm like, hey, this is coming down the pipeline here in town. Like, what are you seeing? Or I have a client who's selling a house in your area. Can you help? Because they want to buy one in mine. And all of those different people, that is just tremendous. From personal gain of being able to call people and say, hey, these are my frustrations. I'm a new mom and I'm a realtor. How the hell did you guys do it? To the professional impact of getting referrals, being able to give out referrals, having that huge network. I think that it's why I keep coming back. Not only are the people amazing, but surrounding yourself with all these people that have that same passion is tenfold. I am from a small little town, and South Lake Tahoe is 26,000 residents, and who knows how many of those are actually full-time versus short-term and all, you know, all those craziness. We have so many tourists, they come, they go, they live here for a summer, they leave. So realtors here, we have such a turnover, and it's hard to make friends and really get your core group of people. And I think that my C.A.R. family is who my core group of people are. I took a year off in 24 after I had Naya, my daughter, and I will never forget, I had two realtors on a bus to Disneyland. That was my last conference when I was 7 months pregnant. No, 7 months pregnant, I think. And they both looked at me and said, we have families. We totally get it. We have young ones. I have 8-year-old, I have this. And they went, we'll be here whenever you want to come back. We'll be here. Give us a call. You have questions, you have this, like, we'll be here. And I always remembered that because I was like, you know what? I can take a year off of leadership and I can come back and my family will be there. And they are. And it's been awesome.
Thank you. Janet, can you talk a little bit about how engaging with C.A.R. has helped you professionally and personally?
I think engaging with CAR, because I work with my GADs, right? Christine Slater at PWR. And I think it's very important to work with the governmental affairs directors. Because I feel like we have to connect with other people in order to help us understand what's important in our own neighborhood too, and to get support. And I feel like for myself, I like to be the person who say, hey, if you all are thinking about running for elected office and you're a realtor and you're female, you're looking for someone to pick their brains, because I've been there and it's not all wonderful. Because I will tell you, becoming an elected official is really hard, because you got to be careful of conflict of interest, right? You know, you promote your business in the city and you buy a banner, and it's just so like there's a lot of reporting too. So, um, I will be honest with everybody because I believe in honesty and transparency. That's my whole platform, is that think hard. Unless you have a secondary income, don't run for office, because you got to be careful. It's like when you have business as a realtor and a council member, they're like, oh, how much is it per self-promoting, right? It's not that. My business tanked because I'm so afraid of self-promotion and conflict of interest, right? So I'm serving the city, serving my constituents, and not trying to promote my real estate business. So, you know, knowing, but being on the inside of the city, I do learn about permit process, right? And how to get things through as a realtor, because I work with our housing people and the community director.
Thank you. And we're nearing the end, but I still have a few questions left. So, Kili, what are the first steps to take for someone who wants to get involved in advocacy?
Candle Leche, number one, that's mine. Figure out if this is something that you really are passionate about. I really liked what Janet said and was like, start small, join a board, join a commission, because that's where you can ask so many questions and really get the feel for it. I think also like chat with your local association, seek out your YPN, your local government committee. Your AE knows everything, I swear. My AE is all knowing. Any question that I have, I can give her a call and be like, what about this? How do I do this? I want to do that. And she's like, okay, these are the people you call, these are the people that you talk to. So keep talking, talk to them, see how their experiences are, ask them how they got started. I think asking questions to your past presidents, to all of that, they want to help you. We're all in this together. We're all passionate about what we've done. If you really want to get going, start asking questions. I'm here for it. Anybody wants to give me a call and ask questions, you can. Oh, AE, somebody just asked what is an AE. An AE is your association executive. So some people call them your CEO, your CFO. We just call her not just because she's everything, but she's our AE. Yeah. She works at your association.
And Janet, what's one piece of advice you'd give to someone attending their first legislative day?
Oh, okay. So I attended my first CAR legislative day. It's fun. It's really fun. So, you know, connect with like, try to connect with your local board members, right? So I belong with the Pacific West Association of Realtors. So connect with them and get to know, go in a group, because when you go by yourself, it's lonely. Try to join the board too and try to become active with the local board, because if you go and you start connecting, try to join the board, but become active, so then you're not lonely. Because when you go, you don't know anybody, like someone said, right? Get to know your GADs, your governmental affair directors. They're a wealth of knowledge. Okay, so get involved locally, get to know the people, join, and I think you'll have a great time, because right now I met up with what you call the state and local people, right? Since I'm a FPC, there's a SPC. If nobody knows what that means, I apologize if I said that. I meant to say
Yeah.
you got the state political coordinator who, you know, advocate with the assembly people and the state senator, and then you have somebody like myself who is assigned to a Congress member, and there's another person who is assigned to the US senator, right? So, you know, so get to know these people because they are a wealth of knowledge and they're happy to help you.
Thank you. And
I would like to add to that quickly. Keep asking questions. I think that that's really important, and wear comfortable shoes.
Yes,
Those are also really important.
absolutely. Bring flats and your nice heels when you walk into there, you know, because the rooms are tight. You know, if you get to advocate, the rooms are tight and it's really quick. And you know, it's just like they give you 15 minutes and know your issue. Study up on that.
thank you. Yes, you will reach your STEPS goals while you're in Sacramento advocating. And if this is going to be your first legislative day, talk to your association. C.A.R. has scholarships for first-time attendees. And I will just add, I forget who said this, but I think it was a former president that said that a democracy is not a government that's run by a majority, but by a majority who participates. So as Janet said, start small. Voting is very important. So back to basics, make sure you're voting, make sure you're paying attention. And you know what? If you attend legislative day and this is your thing, or you're thinking about running for office, we would love to hear from you so that we can help you kind of continue your engagement with C.A.R. and make this a great experience for you. I want to thank the panelists and also WomanUP for having me as your host today. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.